I would love to understand your thought process of just how they're managing Shedeur. Is it a realistic situation for him to play this year, or what should we expect from your eyes?
Well, from what I'm told, Dillon Gabriel has been better, has played better, and is more ready, whatever that means. But this is what I was told. I think if you can sit and watch Flacco and understand.
You know that uneasy sweat you get right before something big is about to go wrong? Well, that's the kind of sweat soaking the suits of NFL owners right now. It all started the moment Cam Newton cracked open a story the league never wanted out in the first place. A story about a rookie quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, who looked billion-dollar franchises dead in the eye on draft night and basically said, "No thanks, I'll choose my own destiny." Think about that for a second. The draft is supposed to be the one night when young players sit there smiling, crying, hugging grandma, just grateful to be picked by whoever calls their name. That's the script. That's how it's always been. But Shedeur, he ripped that script to shreds. And when the truth got out, you could practically hear the panic echoing from those high-rise owner suites. Imagine billionaires who usually pull every string, suddenly realizing the rookie's the one holding the cards. And here's the wildest part. Cam Newton didn't just mention it, he lit a fuse under the entire story. He called out how Shedeur flat out rejected not one, not two, but 3 NFL teams on draft night. That single decision has NFL power brokers looking over their shoulders, wondering if this is the moment the whole system starts to slip from their hands. We're about to break down exactly what happened, why it flipped the league upside down, and why owners are sweating harder than a coach in triple overtime. But before we dive in, if you're into stories that peel back the curtain on the NFL's biggest secrets, do yourself a favor. Hit that like button right now, smash subscribe, and turn on notifications. It takes a second, but it tells us you want more untold stories like this, and it keeps you ahead of the next bombshell before it drops. Because trust me, what Shedeur Sanders pulled off is only the beginning. The story broke like a thunderclap in the middle of a quiet draft season. One minute, everyone thought they knew the script. Prospects sit tight, owners make their picks, the cameras catch a few happy tears. The next minute, Cam Newton drops a truth bomb that rattles every executive box seat in the league. On his podcast, Cam casually let it slip that Shedeur didn't just wait to be drafted. He rejected 3 separate NFL teams on draft night. Not 1, not 2, 3. The league had never seen anything like it. Front offices scrambled to do damage control. Social media exploded with hashtags. Reporters couldn't tell if Cam was trolling for clicks or exposing the biggest draft day power move of the decade. Think about what that means. A 22-year-old rookie, still waiting for his first NFL snap, telling billion-dollar franchises, thanks, but no thanks. That single decision turned the usual draft night fairy tale into a full-blown standoff. Rookie versus empire. Cam didn't soften it either. He described Shedeur as calm, calculated, and in control, the exact opposite of the wide-eyed kid everyone expected to see. To the owners, it felt like watching the first crack appear in the wall they've spent decades building to keep rookies in line. The moment the clip went viral, you could almost hear the gasp ripple through the NFL. Wait, a rookie can say no, and Cam Newton just told the world? That's the spark that set the whole league buzzing. And the shock only grew louder when people found out which teams Shedeur had turned down, because it wasn't just any random franchises. These were organizations with pedigrees, star quarterbacks, and fan bases that assumed any rookie would jump at the chance to wear their jersey. But before we get into the teams that heard the word no, you have to understand just how much this move rocked the foundation of the NFL draft itself. For decades, rookies have been treated like lottery balls. No choice, no say, no control. With one decision, Shedeur Sanders turned that system upside down. And that's when the real panic set in. Because if one rookie could do it, who's to say others won't start doing the same? For decades, the NFL draft has been sold as a feel-good fairy tale. A young athlete's dream finally comes true. The lights, the cameras, the commissioner's handshake, every moment designed to feel like a perfect Hollywood ending. It always plays out the same way. A nervous rookie sits there with his family, suit freshly pressed, eyes locked on the screen. When his name gets called, he breaks into tears, hugs grandma, thanks his mom, thanks God, and puts on the cap of whichever franchise picked him, whether it's a Super Bowl contender or a team that hasn't seen the playoffs in years. That's the unspoken rule of draft night. Rookies don't choose. They get chosen. And they're expected to act grateful no matter what. For team owners, that tradition is everything. It's the one night of the year when they hold all the cards. The kid is just supposed to smile, nod, and join the team. No questions asked. Even if it means starting his career as a bench warmer behind a superstar, or spending his rookie years in a losing system that chews up quarterbacks like old cleats. But Shedeur Sanders didn't show up to play the part of the obedient draft night rookie. Instead of treating the draft like a lottery he couldn't control, he treated it like a business meeting. In one bold move, he reminded the entire league that a draft pick isn't a prize, it's a partnership. That single shift in mindset shook the system to its core. To really understand why the owners panicked, you have to see how fragile their old script was. The NFL thrives on predictability. Rookies enter wide-eyed, owners decide their fate. Fans cheer the fairy tale. When Shedeur ripped that script in half, it wasn't just a headline. It was a warning shot to the entire league. And the real drama came from the fact that the teams he turned down weren't small market strugglers begging for attention. They were big-name franchises that believed every rookie quarterback in the country would be thrilled just to wear their colors. That's where the story gets explosive, because the names on that list, Baltimore, Philadelphia, and Cleveland, reveal exactly why this move wasn't reckless. It was calculated. It was strategic. And it left NFL executives staring at each other, realizing the game had changed. The real shockwave hit when the names of the teams Shedeur Sanders turned down finally came out. These weren't struggling bottom-of-the-barrel franchises desperate for talent. These were proud, powerhouse organizations that believed any rookie quarterback in the country would be honored, thrilled even, to wear their jersey. First up, the Baltimore Ravens. On paper, it looked like a dream. A first-class organization with a strong track record of building winning rosters and developing talent. And sitting at the heart of that roster was Lamar Jackson, one of the most electrifying quarterbacks in the league. Any young quarterback would normally jump at the chance to learn under Lamar's wing, soaking up knowledge and waiting for his turn. But that was exactly the problem. Shedeur didn't see a mentorship opportunity, he saw a roadblock. With Lamar locked in as Baltimore's franchise QB for the foreseeable future, Shedeur knew his chances of actually stepping on the field as a starter were next to zero. He wasn't about to spend his early career as Lamar's shadow, throwing passes in practice while watching games from the sideline. The Ravens thought they were offering a golden ticket. Shedeur saw it as a seat in the waiting room, and he politely, yet firmly, declined. Then came the Philadelphia Eagles, another powerhouse, another chance to join a winning culture. But Philly had just secured Jalen Hurts with a massive contract that all but guaranteed the starting spot was locked down for years. To Shedeur, the Eagles' offer felt less like an opportunity and more like a long-term commitment to holding a clipboard. He had no interest in becoming a backup whose name fans barely remembered. It wasn't about disrespecting Jalen Hurts, quite the opposite. Shedeur respected him enough to know he wasn't going to be replaced anytime soon. And so, for the second time on draft night, Shedeur said no. That left the third team, the Cleveland Browns. At first glance, Cleveland might seem like the riskier choice. It's a franchise with a turbulent history, a revolving door of quarterbacks, and a reputation for inconsistency. But that chaos was exactly what caught Shedeur's attention. While other teams offered stability but no real path to the field, Cleveland offered something different: opportunity.
In a city where quarterback jobs change hands faster than headlines, Shedeur saw a chance to compete for the starting role sooner rather than later. No Lamar Jackson, no Jalen Hurts, no waiting indefinitely behind a superstar. To most rookies, Baltimore and Philly would have been the obvious picks, safe, respected, stable. But to Shedeur Sanders, those were dead ends. Cleveland, with all its unpredictability, was the gamble that made sense. It was high risk, high reward, and exactly the kind of move that told the NFL he wasn't here to play it safe. Turning down two of the league's most prominent franchises to take a chance on one of its most chaotic teams sent a message louder than any touchdown pass. Shedeur Sanders was going to bet on himself, even if it meant shocking the entire league. The moment the news broke that Shedeur Sanders had turned down not one but 3 NFL teams, the sports world lost its collective mind. What started as Cam Newton casually dropping a revelation on his podcast quickly exploded into the headline of the week. Overnight, Shedeur went from being a promising young quarterback to the center of one of the most heated debates in recent draft history. On social media, the reaction was instant and brutal. One half of the internet crowned Shedeur a genius, a visionary, they called him, a rookie finally brave enough to take control of his own career. Fans praised his confidence, comparing him to a chess player, making a master move while everyone else was still learning the rules.
But the other half wasn't nearly as kind. They flooded comment sections calling him entitled, spoiled, and arrogant. To them, Shedeur was just another unproven rookie, acting bigger than the game itself. They argued that he should have been grateful for any opportunity, especially when it came from organizations as respected as Baltimore or Philadelphia. Sports talk shows lit up like wildfire. Analysts argued for hours on whether his move was bold or foolish. Some saw it as a sign of maturity, proof that Shedeur was thinking strategically about his long-term success. Others framed it as a red flag, a dangerous mix of ego and inexperience. Right in the middle of that storm was Cam Newton. Far from backing down, Cam doubled down on his defense of Shedeur. On national TV, he called the move calculated, not cocky, explaining that Shedeur's decision wasn't about disrespect, it was about knowing where he could truly grow. Cam argued that sitting behind Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts for years wouldn't just delay Shedeur's career, it might derail it entirely. That perspective shifted the conversation. Suddenly, what some were calling arrogance started to look like strategy. It wasn't about refusing to pay his dues, it was about refusing to waste them. Even then, the backlash didn't fade. The debate split fan bases down the middle. Older fans and traditionalists said Shedeur was breaking an unspoken code of respect in the league. Younger fans and players saw him as a trailblazer for a new era where rookies wouldn't blindly accept whatever hand they were dealt. Through it all, Shedeur kept quiet, letting the storm rage on, without a single public comment. That silence only added to the mystery, fueling more speculation and more headlines. What no one could deny was this. In a single night, Shedeur Sanders had turned himself into the most talked-about rookie in the league without even stepping on an NFL field. And as the debate burned hotter, another truth began to surface. This was about far more than one player's choice. What really rattled the NFL wasn't just that Shedeur Sanders turned down 2 powerhouse franchises, it was what his decision represented. For decades, the NFL draft has been built on one unshakable truth. The owners hold the power, and rookies fall in line. Draft night has always been the league's ultimate display of control. Billionaire owners and general managers sit in luxury suites calling the shots, while young players, no matter how talented, wait nervously for their fate to be decided. It's an unspoken hierarchy. The kid just got invited to the table, so he's expected to take whatever seat he's offered. But Shedeur's choice shattered that illusion. The moment he said no to Baltimore and Philadelphia, he exposed a quiet truth. Rookies aren't powerless unless they agree to be. For the first time in years, our draft pick reminded everyone that he wasn't a pawn in the game.
He was willing to move like a king. That shift in mindset terrified the NFL's old guard. NFL owners have built their empire on predictability. They don't like surprises, especially not from players they're used to controlling. To them, Shedeur's move wasn't just bold, it was dangerous. If one rookie quarterback could dictate terms on draft night, what would stop the next wave of college stars from doing the same? Behind closed doors, executives reportedly worried about the ripple effect. If Shedeur's gamble paid off, if he landed in Cleveland, got playing time, and thrived, other players might start questioning why they should blindly accept being benched for years behind a franchise star. Owners saw that possibility as the beginning of a power shift that could unravel decades of tradition. And then there's the Deion Sanders factor. Growing up under Deion's guidance meant that Shedeur was taught from day one to value himself as more than just a name on a roster. Deion's message was simple: never let anyone else write your story. That mentality, passed down from father to son, was now echoing through the NFL. It wasn't lost on anyone that this wasn't just about one draft decision, it was about leverage. Leverage is the one thing that can flip the entire balance of power in sports. Owners aren't scared of talent, they're scared of players realizing they have options. For years, the draft has been treated as a tradition players couldn't challenge. Shedeur proved it could be challenged, and that a rookie willing to bet on himself could tilt the board in his favor before ever throwing a professional pass. That's the part that left billionaire owners sweating. Not the talent, not the confidence, but the fact that for the first time in a long time, the leash wasn't in their hands. When Shedeur Sanders finally chose to land in Cleveland, plenty of fans were stunned. To them, it looked like trading two polished, playoff-ready organizations for a franchise with a history of quarterback heartbreak. But what most people saw as a gamble, Shedeur saw it as his opening. Cleveland isn't exactly the promised land for quarterbacks. Over the years, the team has become infamous for its revolving door at the position. New starters every season, sometimes multiple in the same year. It's a city where quarterback jerseys have turned into running jokes with names of past players patched one over the other until the list nearly hits the ground. But in that chaos, Shedeur saw something nobody else did. A chance. In Baltimore or Philadelphia, he'd have been trapped behind two franchise quarterbacks with ironclad contracts and legacies already in the making. No matter how hard he worked, he would have been invisible, just another talented kid holding a clipboard on the sidelines, waiting for a shot that might never come. Cleveland was different. There was no Lamar Jackson-sized shadow to stand under, no Jalen Hurts fortress blocking the path to the field. What Cleveland had was instability, messy, unpredictable, even a little dysfunctional. But for a determined rookie, that instability meant opportunity. Instead of years of waiting, Shedeur saw the Browns as a place where he could compete sooner, prove himself faster, and maybe even grab the starting job while still in his rookie contract. It wasn't the safe move, but it was the bold one. Of course, that decision came with risk. Cleveland's track record with quarterbacks is rough, and the franchise itself is notorious for burning through promising talent. One bad season in a city like that can stain a player's reputation for years. It's a high-pressure environment where fans can turn from hopeful to hostile in a heartbeat. Still, Shedeur didn't flinch. To him, the risk of fading into the background in Baltimore or Philly was far worse than the risk of facing the chaos head-on in Cleveland. If he was going to bet on himself, he wanted to do it somewhere he could take the field, not warm the bench. In that way, Cleveland wasn't a step down. It was his proving ground. He wasn't looking for comfort. He was looking for a fight. And the Browns, with all their unpredictability, offered the perfect arena for that fight to begin. That choice sent another clear message to the league. Shedeur wasn't chasing the easiest path or the flashiest jersey. He was chasing control of his own destiny, even if it meant stepping straight into the storm. Step back from the headlines for a moment and you start to see why this story is so much bigger than Shedeur Sanders alone. Yes, it's about a young quarterback making a bold decision on draft night, but beneath that headline is something deeper, something that could change the way the NFL operates for years to come. For decades, the draft has been built on tradition. It's a ritual where rookies are expected to wait patiently for their names to be called and then gratefully accept whatever situation they're handed. That's been the unspoken agreement between players and the league. You get picked, you smile for the cameras, you take what you're given. But Shedeur shattered that script. With 3 simple words, no, not there, he exposed a fault line that's always been there, but never tested: the power dynamic. The NFL has thrived on keeping rookies compliant and grateful, but Shedeur reminded everyone that compliance isn't a rule of the game, it's a choice. That's why his move feels like more than a personal decision. It feels like the start of a cultural shift. If one rookie quarterback can look 2 powerhouse franchises in the eye and decline, what's stopping future prospects from doing the same? Imagine the ripple effect if college stars with strong resumes start treating the draft like free agency before they ever sign a contract. Owners know that scenario keeps them up at night. The draft has been their tool to control where talent goes, how much leverage players have, and when their careers start. If that system starts to break, the balance of power in the NFL shifts dramatically toward the players. There's also a symbolic weight to this moment. Kids who grew up watching the draft, dreaming of the day they'd finally hear their names called, are now seeing that there's another way. They're learning that being drafted isn't just about being chosen, it's about choosing too. Older fans and traditionalists call it arrogance. Younger fans call it progress. Whatever you call it, there's no denying that Shedeur's gamble is a blueprint that others will study closely. And if it works, if he thrives in Cleveland and proves his point, then the next generation of rookies might not settle for sitting quietly in the green room anymore. That's the real legacy of this decision. It's not just about where Shedeur plays or how he performs. It's about what his choice represents to everyone else watching. The idea that players can have a say in their careers before their careers even begin is a concept that could rewrite the future of draft day as we know it. Whether the league embraces that shift or fights to keep the old ways intact remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, the conversation has already started and it's not going away anytime soon. So, now the question hanging over the league isn't just about Shedeur Sanders. It's about the future of the NFL itself. Was this the night we witnessed the start of a new era where rookies play chess with billionaire owners instead of standing in line like pawns? Or will Shedeur's story become a cautionary tale that teams use to warn the next generation, don't get too bold before you've proven yourself? Right now, nobody knows. What we do know is that one rookie quarterback walked into the draft and flipped the script so hard that billionaires had to wipe the sweat off their brows. Before he's even thrown an NFL touchdown, Shedeur has already forced the league to ask itself uncomfortable questions about power, control, and who really gets to decide a player's future. Think about the ripple effects. If he thrives in Cleveland, if he steps on that field and proves that betting on himself was the smarter play, the entire draft culture could shift overnight. But if he stumbles, the critics will be waiting to say they were right all along, that the old system was better, that rookies should know their place. Either way, the damage to the old order is already done. The myth that rookies don't have a choice has been broken, and that's something you can't unsee. Here's the real takeaway. In an era where athletes have more visibility, more influence, and more leverage than ever before, the draft may never feel the same again. Whether that's good or bad for the game depends on who you ask, but one thing's for sure, Shedeur Sanders has already changed the conversation. So, what do you think? Is Shedeur rewriting draft day history as a visionary who challenged the system? Or is he on the verge of becoming the cautionary tale owners were hoping for? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. This is one debate that deserves more than a hot take headline. And if you enjoyed digging into the untold story behind this draft day shocker, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter in this unfolding NFL drama. Because this story, it's only just getting started.